Here's my Invert Mini. Did a few upgrades. Feed neck. Upgrade to the more robust one. Upgrade the trigger. CP trigger. And then a new on and off ASC rig. And I got an upgraded board, shockwave board. Because the Invert Minis, this version, you have to do all the changes inside the battery cover. This one, you don't have to do that. It's the new upgraded board. All you gotta do is change it, turn it on, and you can change it with the trigger settings. And then the cool little aesthetics is a new battery cover. And I'll show you what's a good part to put on, part by part. First thing before you do anything, take your battery cover off, take your battery out. Take the screw out, the Allen screw out here. Pop the cover off. Set it aside, don't lose your screws. Disconnect your battery. And then following that, I'm going to take the front grip off and then take the reg off because the trigger is more in depth. This stuff is pretty easy. Once you get the two screws loose, you don't have to pull them all the way out, just loosen them up and then just gently pull down to where, once you know these are free, and then it pulls right off. And then you got that off. Alright, to pull the board out, undo this one screw. And once you get it loose, set it to the side. And then the board, all it is held in right in a little groove right here, and that one screw, and then it feeds right out to the top. And just be careful, because you still have wires from your battery connector, which you can disconnect, but I'm just going to disconnect that after I get it out. And grab the connector. Don't pull on the wires, pull on the connector. And once you get the new board in, the orientation is going to be a little different where the cable goes. As long as you put the cable in the battery hookup before you slide it in, it makes it a whole lot easier. When you tighten the bolt, don't wrench on it, just hand tight, that's it. Make sure all your buttons are pushing and you should be good, as long as it's set down in the groove like it's supposed to. And once you get the screws out of the grip, I pulled both of them out of both sides, pull that off. A good time to clean it, clean your marker, because it's going to have paint residue underneath there from just playing. And then to get your regulator off, you should only have to do undo this screw a little bit, undo the other side, and then it slides right off. Just be careful, you got an O-ring there, just try not to lose that. You should be putting a new one on when you put the new reg on. Set that to the side, and then get everything ready for the install for the new on and off ASC reg. Before you install the regulator into the marker, make sure you have your piece that you took off, your old reg. You see the little set screws, make sure you have them at least halfway down. That's the way I do it. And once you get it up on there, tighten the set screws, and that'll hold and lock it into place, and then you just thread that down to where it seats, and then it's pushed against the O-ring, and then that's done for the reg, and that's all done and set with. Everything works good. Just remember, when you go, once it gets all put back together, this is not going to be set to the right pressure. It should be set to 200, but just double check that when you hook your air up, and make sure it goes to where you need it to go once you have everything back and running again. Alright, before you pull the frame off, undo the screw right here, which it's got a hole designed for it, so that way you just slide your Allen key up in there, and then pull it out, and then you loosen this one. Just be cautious when you undo this back one, because the bolt can pop itself out a little bit. Just, you know, when you undo it, just hold your finger on it. That's a special one. And when you're ready, I pulled my whole bolt and everything else assembly out. So I gotta clean the marker anyway and re-lube it all up. Once you're ready, just be careful because there's a little O-ring down in here. Just work it back and forth and it should slide right apart. And see how all it's dirty? You can clean all that stuff up. Then you get to work on the trigger. Alright, to get the trigger out, you have to, and only do this if you feel comfortable doing this and you accept all responsibility for working on your own paintball marker. Now, because you can scuff this part up, you got to drive the pin that holds the original trigger in, which mine is still in there because I'm showing you how to do it. But as a demonstration is get a punch, use a designated punch. Don't use these Allen wrenches and makeshift punch or any of that stuff. Get the proper tools for the job or you will scuff your marker up. And once you get it going, I mean, you could take and push it out the rest of the way. And once you do that, the trigger will come out, and then you got to follow the directions per whichever custom trigger you buy tells you how to install it. When you drive your pin out, drive it from the right side to the left side. So if you're holding it like this, right side to the left side, because the pin has got grooves, you can see it. It's got grooves in it that only go one way, so that way it locks it in that way. The grooves are on the right, on the left side, so that way once you punch them out, it's easier to come out. Put that to the side, and then you can pull your trigger out. Then you can get ready for the install of the new trigger. But if you do decide to do it, get the punch and the hammer like you're supposed to do, and be very, very careful. Make sure the frame is on something solid to where it holds it and it won't scuff it up, because you don't want to mess up the nice finish that you have, to where you can drive it out so the way it'll push out and fall out, and you can do the install of the new trigger. Alright, my CP trigger, custom parts trigger, it comes with a whole bunch of little parts. You got one that's a threaded piece, little spacer, and then one that's just a hollow spacer, and that's what holds the trigger in. And you got to get, you can see that, that's got to go into where you knock the dowel pin out, and that's where the tricky part comes in. But once you get it in there, it should be pretty self-explanatory, pretty simple. Put the threaded end on the left side or on the right side. It really doesn't matter whichever side you want the bolt end to stick out, whichever one side you want it on. Which I guess it depends if you're, with how you're shooting, if you don't want it to be seen. So I'll put mine on the right side, so the thread will be on this side, so that way it'll hide it that way. As you can see, I got them in there. The best way to do it, for what I did, is tilt it all the way to the side like that, and then carefully slide it in there, and use your fingernail, or those pliers would work perfectly. You can slide it in there. I didn't have them, so I used it right here, and it drops right in there. And then once you get the one side, you flip it over to the other side, just kind of hold it, and then you get it. It's not too hard. And once you get them in there, then you can get ready to insert your trigger. And this is what makes the trigger nice and tight, so it don't have that slop side to side. And then you just slide, get your screw in there, and then you'll have another little cool spring dowel pin that goes right here, and you can see how open it is in there. But because you got two different, you got a thing to add in this little piece right here where the spring goes on, so it gives your trigger a nice little more solid feeling. Alright, trigger's in there. A lot of slops gone. It's got a little bit more adjustment. Get a nice little spring back. The And now just take the feed neck off. It's probably gonna be really tight on there. I got mine off by hand. Once you break it loose, pull it off, drop it off, clean all this nasty stuff out of there, clean the threads, and install your new one. This new low-rise feed neck is a two-piece. Part of the threads on the top, and then this goes on top of that, which allows it to swivel, so that way you can always keep this orientation straight, and it's got a better design clamp. Also too, it's thicker material, so that way, 'cause I've heard that these factory ones are prone to breaking off right here, the threads, leaving the threads in the marker. So I can get rid of this old one and put this new one on there. There you go. Put the insert in, start it, slightly tighten that to get it to where it tightens the insert inside. Then once it tightens that down, and you get it to where it's pretty tight, don't over tighten it, because this thing's aluminum, you can strip the threads. So don't manhandle it, just snug it, and then once you get it tight, loosen the screw, straighten the feed neck out, retighten it back down, and then you're good to go. And once you get it all back together, everything's tight, greased everything, so everything nice and slides real good. Get the battery in there, turn it on. Just get the eyes in it. Works good. And then you can get the directions to adjust the trigger. It's the same thing as adjusting the normal stock trigger, but this one you just do a little bit better. Get that done. And then this one with the new board, I recommend going on Empire's website and printing off their new pamphlet booklet, so it tells you all the new settings. See, now before you had to turn the eyes off, you had to hold the trigger when you turn it on. Now you just tap it, and then it lets you know that they're off. The eyes should be turned off. See, it's letting you know, hey, I'm live, the eyes are off. It'll shoot without having safety there. Just tap it, and now they're back on again. And now all the settings are done through the trigger and indicators, which you'll get those off the line. There you go, quick and easy update of the upgrades I did. Slops gone, nice little trigger response, and we'll see how it fires. Well, this is the full setup. Good news, I didn't have to adjust anything. It goes right to 2. Fires were good. And the feed neck is nice and lower. I like it.